Unified School Board of Trustees. Welcome you all. We're going to go ahead and start. Before we get going on a moment of reflection, I just want to remind everybody we have two exits right behind you out the main hallway, and one going to the right and one on either side of the dais if needed. And as always, there's a defibrillator located behind the front counter if we need so, and we hope and pray that we don't. So with that, again, welcome, and I'd like to start with a moment of reflection, please. Okay, thank you. Mr. Silva, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's so amazing you can pick one voice out of the whole crowd and just get a lot of joy out of hearing someone say that, right? That was great. Nothing against you guys, but that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Okay. Dr. Shamiya, any changes to the agenda?
No changes. I don't think my mic's on there. No changes.
Okay, no changes. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Silva, seconded by Wyndham. And student board member advisory vote, all in favor? Yes. Board member vote, all in favor? Yes. Yes. Hearing any opposed? None. Passes unanimous. Going to report on closed session items. During closed session, the board discussed two student discipline cases, personnel issue, district labor negotiations, and potential litigation. Also during closed session, the following action was taken. Approved of a confidential settlement agreement by unanimous roll call vote of 7-0. All right. With that, we'll move on to item number 10, student discipline recommendations. It's recommended that the board approve the recommendations for the following student discipline cases: 07-1920-EX and 11-1920-EX. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Wyndham, second by Malberg, and it's a roll call vote. And
okay, Mr. Wyndham, your vote, please. Yes. Mr. Kitsis?
Can you make sure you hit the mic when you hold the mic? That way we record it that way when it's your turn. There you go.
Okay.
Still a new system we're playing with.
Okay, yes by Mr. Wyndham. Mr. Kitsis, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mrs. Malberg?
Yes.
And Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Thank you.
With that, comments from the floor. These are items that are not on the agenda, limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Teresa, do we have any cards? We do not. Anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 12, student and staff recognition. Hemlock teacher Megan Barr will recognize Hemlock's outstanding student. Welcome. Yay. And before we get going, if you'd like to come up front and take pictures, Mom, you're more than happy to. You can stand right in front of me. That's fantastic. So just come take as many photos as you want. All right, the floor is all yours. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Very good.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Shamiya, parents, guardians, and friends. My name is Megan Barr, and I have the pleasure of presenting Marley Gorman as outstanding student at Hemlock Elementary. Marley is a 6th grader in my class at Hemlock and has attended Hemlock since kindergarten. Marley exemplifies our school rules of be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. Marley recently got an award for perseverance at school because no matter what life throws at her, she handles it with grace and determination. Recently diagnosed with juvenile epilepsy, Marley accepted that diagnosis and got right to work researching epilepsy to better understand this turn in her life. Marley then gave an impromptu lesson on epilepsy to our class, answering questions and explaining the medical side the best she could. At Hemlock, Marley shines bright. She is well liked by classmates and peers. She gets along well with teachers. She maintains good grades and ensures to incorporate a little art into her assignments when appropriate. In the classroom, Marley and another student have set up an agreement to be each other's helper. Marley looks out for this girl who has severe headaches and stomach aches and lets me know when her friend needs to go to the restroom or to the nurse. In turn, this friend keeps an eye on Marley and is proactive about the fire alarm possibly triggering Marley's epilepsy. They look out for each other in the most caring way. Marley is a confident young lady who stands for inclusion. As the older sibling to a brother and a sister with Down syndrome, Marley understands and embraces inclusion. She understands what it feels like socially to be teased or not included. So Marley makes a point of looking out for those who aren't included. In the classroom, she regularly ensures everyone has a partner, everyone is part of a group, no one is left out. With respect to her academics, Marley is a hard worker. She is a thoughtful, creative writer who comes up with imaginative ideas and puts a great deal of thought into her work. Marley lights up any room with a smile. She is a wonderful listener with a beautiful spirit that people are just drawn to. Marley is truly an exceptional student and friend at Hemlock Elementary. We're lucky to know her. Thank you.
Wow, congratulations, Marley. Very proud of you. Yeah, family, come on. Hand up. There you go.
First with this camera. Go ahead. I just want to get over there too.
All right. Item 12B, recognition of classified employees of the year. Manolo Garcia, Director of Human Resources, will honor this year's classified employees of the year and a certificate employee of the year, certificate employee of the year.
No, that's correct. Good evening, Board. Superintendent Shimiya. Tonight I have the honor, and I'm not Manolo Garcia.
I was going to say.
I'm just some other guy he dragged
A
in
little
here.
bit taller.
Tonight I have the honor of introducing our classified employees of the year and one of our teachers of the year who couldn't make it last time. These employees are the backbone of our district. They are the ones who get up early, stay late, do the stuff that has to be done so that we can teach kids. And we can't do our jobs without them. And the employees here in this room are dedicated, skilled professionals that we're honored to have working with us. So the first thing I want to do is introduce, I'm sorry, I've got a clicker here. All right, so we're going to get going. From Adult Education, Yvette Pena. I'll have you come up. So we're going to ask the recipients to come up and they get their certificate. And then we're going to have you step down here. And we're all going to take a picture together. So if you could step down there, there's going to be a lot of you. Okay. Next, from Alamo Elementary, Sam Bravo. From Browns Valley Elementary, Fonda Mahan. From Buckingham, Karen Headland. Karen's not here this evening. From Callison Elementary, Karen Nicolette. From Cooper Elementary, Linda Silva. From Country High School, Lauren Rangel. From Fairmont Charter School, Vicki Morris. From Hemlock and Ace, Janet Best. From Jepson Middle School, Haley Mendenhall. From Kinney Charter Academy, apparently they felt like they needed two, Robin Bright and Tess Wilkin. They're a team. From Markham, Kathy Vo. From Orchard, Sharon Marshall. From Payton, Ann Carr. From Sierra Vista, Charlie French. From Vaca Pena, Jose Rodriguez. From Wilsey Wood, Kelly Gerber. And our district classified employee of the year from Vacaville High School, Laurel Pearson. Yeah, scoot in, get close to your friends, scoot in. As close as we can get.
But I won't. Okay.
We're talking into two.
My phone isn't. Okay, I can get that.
Oh my gosh, Chris needs to just airdrop that to all of us.
Okay, big smiles.
Sorry, I'm right in front of you. Okay, I got that.
All right, one more big round of applause for our classified employees of the year. And we've got one more person to congratulate from Buckingham Charter High School, their teacher of the year, Nadja Fitchhorn. And it's her class and her student that designed that banner right there. We're very, very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manolo. Wait. Oh. Oh. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, congratulations to all. Great. It's the best part of the whole meeting here is all these accolades. Very nice. So item 12C is recognition of the Solano Association of California School Administrators. The ACSA District Liaison Amy Blackstone will recognize some of our employees that were selected as Administrators of the Year. Hello, Amy. How are you?
Hi.
Welcome.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Shimiya, guests, fellow administrators. Every year, the Solano Charter of the Association of California School Administrators accepts nominations for various Administrator of the Year awards from 5 school districts in Solano County, as well as the Solano County Office of Education. These nominations include site administrators, district level administrators, and classified leaders. The Solano Charter of ACSA awards winners, then they are nominated to receive regional as well as possible state awards. 3 of the Solano Charter ACSA award recipients were selected from Vacaville Unified, and we would like to recognize them tonight. I'd like to start off with the Solano Charter Classified Leader of the Year Award, and that is to Juan Cardone, our Director of Student Nutrition. Juan was selected for the level of enthusiasm he brings to his work, as well as his drive to always do better in the name of students. He invests in his people and helps others to reach their full potential. Congratulations. Next, I would like to recognize the Elementary Co-Administrator of the Year, Ms. Tony Henry, Assistant Principal of Sierra Vista. Tony was selected because she takes initiative and demonstrates growth as well as confidence. She is a strong collaborator and a mentor amongst her peers. Many seek her advice and assistance when they have questions on their own campus. Congratulations, Tony. Next, I'd like to recognize the High School Principal of the Year, Ron Thomas, Principal from Vacaville High School. Ron was selected for his commitment and practices around the issue of equity. He has made strides at his school site to ensure that all really means all and reduce the systematic barriers that prevent student success. He is an equity champion both at the district and regional levels, serving on panels, helping to educate and support other administrators in this area. Congratulations, Mr. Thomas.
There you go. Come on. Come on, Juan. That wasn't a request.
We all do it.
All right, don't hold that stuff. Oh.
What's your friend?
That's my friend.
So as the Vacaville Unified District Liaison to the Solano Charter of ACSA, I am honored to be able to recognize the great leadership and hard work of these individuals tonight. Thank you.
Amy, thank you for the presentation, and Juan, Tony, and Ron, thank you for the great work that you do. We appreciate it. Okay, item 13A, Hemlock School Report. Principal Jennifer Austin will provide the report. She was right up there.
Hello.
Come on up.
Hello. Is it working?
It's working. You're doing fine.
Hello and good evening. My name is Carter Jackson, president of Hemlock Student Council. I am in fifth grade, Mr. Miles's class. I'd like to thank the school board and Superintendent Shamia for letting us participate tonight. Today, my fellow student council members and I are going to explain the things that we do at Hemlock, from meetings to our PTA events, celebrations, and school rules and culture. I hope that when we're done, you'll think our school is as amazing as we think and believe it is. Thank you.
Hello, I am Taylor Feminist, Secretary of the Hemlock Student Council. I am also a fifth grader in Mr. Miles' class. At our amazing school, we do many cool activities and other things, such as Superbuck stores, PBIS, Spirit Weeks, and Leader in Me. Our Superbuck stores each month have many interesting items, such as supplies and toys that we can buy with the Superbucks we earn by following school rules. Hemlock students and teachers also have an amazing time participating in our Spirit Weeks. For example, we did a 100th day of school where all of us dressed over the hill. Our PBIS rules are well enforced and quite easy to follow. They are be safe, be respectful, and be responsible. The Leader in Me lessons teach our students to act kindly, respectfully, and responsibly. As you can see, our school culture is very unique. Thank you.
Hello, my name. Is it working?
Yeah, a little closer. There you go.
Right. Hello, my name is Allison Voda. I'm a fifth grader in Mr. Miles' class. I'm student council treasurer. How does a school and the community connect? Let me answer that for you. One way this school connects with the community is how it rewards perfect attendance. Some students with perfect attendance got to come to school in a cop car last year. The officer also brought donuts to class. Also in December, Genentech gave us a big check to help fund 6th grade camp. That was super helpful. Another was when the student council did the camp food drive for our community families that needed food for holidays or any days. That is how the school and the community connect. Thank you.
Yeah, just come on up. Stay up there.
Hello, my name is Jenna Davidson. I am in 6th grade and I am Vice President of Hemlock Elementary Student Council. I'm going to talk about the staff. The teachers and staff are very helpful. They make sure we are always having a good time and also staying safe. For example, Ms. Urvis, a 6th grade teacher, gives you tickets for when you turn in homework and you get prizes. I have been a part of the Hemlock family for 3 years now. When I first arrived, the teachers and staff were very welcoming and made me feel part of this family, and I still do to this day. Thank you.
Thank you guys. You did a great job. I'm so proud of our student leadership. We are trying this year really to get our student leaders up in front and running things. They were really excited to take on this challenge tonight. All right, I'm going to share with you our dashboard. We're really, really proud of our dashboard. We recognize that there are areas here that we need to grow, but in the last couple of years, we've seen some of those needles move from orange to green, particularly in English language arts, and we're very proud of the work we've done around that. Some of the things we've done to create some of the successes, we really have united our campus over the last couple of years. As you know, Hemlock houses 3 very distinct programs. We have our neighborhood children, we have our ACE program, and we have our preschool through 6th grade skill and tap classrooms. So we did a lot of work around coming together as a community and using the gifts and talents of each of these individual programs and all of our staff members to really build in good supports for our students. One of the things we're doing in that regard is we are meeting as a whole staff during 2 of the 4 PLCs every month. One of those times we're meeting and we're focusing on data around social emotional learning and behavior. And we take that time as a staff to talk about students who are struggling and to build in
different kinds of supports and kind of come together and problem solve as a group. And the second time we focus on English language arts and math, so our academic data, and again, pulling from everybody's expertise in the room to build in supports and respond faster to our students and their needs. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say on this slide, sorry, is we're also seeing a lot of gains because we've increased our inclusion. So our students in our Skill and Talent programs are spending more time than ever in mainstream classrooms and with our general ed population, providing that good rigor and exposure to good first instruction. We feel like that's really helping us out as well.
Hi, I'm Nicole Bandy. I'm the RTI coordinator. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about some data digging. These are our CASP scores for the last 2 years. Normally, you would see 3 years of data, but ACE was a charter during the 16-17 school year. And so the 17-18 school year is the first year that we have our full school community represented in our CASP data. We have some things to celebrate, and we have some areas of focus. One of the areas of celebration is our ELA scores. So we went from 46% proficiency in the 17-18 year to 55% proficiency last year. So that was a 9-point gain that we're really happy about. And the way that we accomplished that was through spending some time first on really excellent first instruction, more of a focus on guided reading, as well as the full staff PLCs that Ms. Austin talked about a little bit already. And then next we focused on intervention and sort of an all hands on deck approach to making sure that we are addressing the needs of students in small groups in a very targeted way, and that's resulted in these great gains. Math for us is an area of focus. We lost 2 points this last year, but we think that we can use those great strategies that we applied to our ELA for math. And so last year, we again focused on some good first instruction by bringing in UC Davis Math Project and transitioning our teachers to more of a focus on conceptual understanding in accordance with the Common Core. This year, we continued that work with demo lessons and coaching from our district math coach. And then the next step for us is to develop a system of intervention for our math program. We're going to use the NCTM essential standards as a way to help our teachers zero in on the skills that are most important for our students, as well as to give us a framework for deciding who needs intervention and when and how. So we're hoping that we can make that change in the same way. I also want to bring up an area of celebration. Our English language learners have been doing fantastically. 85% of our English language learners were improving their proficiency of the English language. And all of our ELD students, including those who are RFEP'd, increased their scores in every area. Our RFEP'd students increased their scores more than our English-only students. So I want to kind of show you some of our grade level data. There's a couple ways to look at grade level data. One is to read across the columns, right? So looking at third grade in ELA and math. But another way to look at it, and I'm going to use my pointer, another way to look at that is to think about the same cohort of students, right? So we have, in 17-18, we had this group of third graders. 50% of them were proficient, but then the next year when they were fourth graders, 62% were proficient. And so when we read diagonally that way, we start seeing that the same group of students is making the progress that we want to see. So we're comparing apples to apples. So we had gains in every grade level for ELA. In math, we saw some slight decreases again. So third grade to fourth grade, we saw a decrease. And fourth grade to fifth grade, a 3-point decrease. And then our fifth graders, who became sixth graders, we want to bring up those scores, but it's also a 50% increase over their performance the prior year. So we're happy to see that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over.
There we go. Okay. So behavior is another area where we are really proud of the work that we've done.
I put on the slide the suspension rate over the last couple of years that is reflected in our score on the dashboard. However, I also wanted to point out that our overall referrals have dropped significantly. We were well over 250 2 years ago, and this year we've had 30 referrals all year long. And so what we're seeing is the result of our hard work around PBIS, really taking a proactive approach to our students, the problem solving that we're doing in that whole staff PLC around behavior. We, as a staff, have become much better at sort of seeing some of those pre-behaviors that show us that a student is getting ready to blow out, and we're stepping in faster with better supports because we're working as a united team. And so we're just seeing that kids' behavior isn't getting to those big escalated points as much anymore. The other thing we've done is really stepped up how often we review our PBIS lessons. So it used to be that we did it at the beginning of the year, we did it at semester. Now we're doing it at the beginning of the year, before holiday break, before spring break, and again in the spring. So kids are getting that constant message of this is how we do things, and it's very consistent. The other thing we brought into play this year is our first year with Leader in Me, and so we're just getting started. This year our focus has been mainly on teaching the 7 habits and just starting to show those lessons to the students and build that common vocabulary. And moving into year 2, we'll start working on goal setting with our students, both academically and behaviorally, so we're really excited to see where that work will take us. But we are really proud to see this decrease. And, you know, I'd like to think of suspension as it's like saying what you did was so bad you don't deserve to be educated today. So we want to take that really seriously and keep kids in school as much as we possibly can. This is our daily attendance rate and chronic absenteeism. This, along with math, these are the 2 areas we have the most concern with as a staff, and we're working on them. We have had some improvement, but it hasn't been nearly what we have hoped for. Some of the things we're doing is every day in our announcements we thank every class that had good attendance the day before. If we notice a student is out for a couple of days in a row, we send them a "We Miss You" card. When we notice students are improving in their attendance or in their tardies, we send a thank you. We also changed how we recognize students for attendance. It used to be we did it on the trimester, and the problem with that was if I get the flu in November, there's nothing I can do to make that up. So now we're recognizing students every single month. So even when there is something that comes up, students have another opportunity to increase that. The other thing we've done this year is we're making 3 points of contact with every parent for every letter. And the result of that is we're getting most of our parents coming in when they're requested for SARTs. Last year, I had 2 show all year. Last week, I had 7 of 11 appointments show. So we are doing a better job of getting information about attendance and the importance of attendance to our families. So we're hoping that there'll be some long-term gains there as well. All right, do you have any questions for us?
Anybody?
Mrs. Daly.
I just want to say congratulations. That was a good report, and seeing the growth that you're making there. And I know it is not easy to meld programs together in a school, and congratulations, because I think you're doing a great job of it. And that's a very important thing for everybody there. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Silva.
I'm pretty excited to hear that. I was excited to hear first, maybe a year or 2 ago, where when you guys wanted to implement Leader in Me. There's some background history with that that's personally helped me a lot. Some of the criticism, if anybody else doesn't know out there, was that this is all common sense. They're criticizing the author, but for some people it's not. And I think that it just provides a nice framework that really focuses on interdependence, which is something that was really demanded of our students, for all of us as we move along. And thank you for sharing your scores with respect to. So congratulations on the English progression there. With respect to the math, I just want to clarify that what you all applied to the interventions that you applied to English, was that at the same time to math?
No, we focused first on English language arts the first year, so really doing things like professional development around guided reading, especially for upper grade teachers who may not have ever done that before, and really improving the quality of the interventions we were giving our students. So we did a lot of purchasing good research-based
products to use. So now we want to take that, that's been successful, and now that we've got that and we know how to do it and we're doing it well and it's working, now we want to apply those same strategies to math and start getting that process fine-tuned. And we actually have started this year in our leadership group, so identifying what are the essential standards in each grade and what does mastery of that standard look like for each grade, so we can use that to help us target that intervention instruction next year.
And I would just add to that that part of that work is helping make sure that our teachers are conscious of whether they're introducing a skill or their students should be perfecting and mastering the skill at that grade level. And that helps us target our intervention so that we know that we're making sure that kids are getting those foundational skills when they should. And then the other piece of that as we move into this year 2 of Leader in Me is that we're also moving toward more student-engaged assessment. So if we are very conscious of whether a skill should be mastered at a certain grade level, we also want to make sure that our students are aware of that and they're reflecting on their own learning and they're setting their own goals.
So thank you for sharing that. So is the focus really mastering the material or mastering and also applying the concepts?
It's both. We want to start with conceptual understanding. That's the most important piece because students need to be able to use math as a tool, right, rather than viewing math as a series of algorithms.
Right.
After they have conceptual understanding, they should have a variety of ways to demonstrate that understanding. Calculations are one way, but also models are another way. Being able to contextualize their learning is another way. So ultimately, we do want them to learn algorithms, but that's later. The conceptual understanding is what undergirds that and allows them to use math for problem solving in the real world.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Ryan. Yeah, you want to use the mic there? Fantastic. I think it takes a second. Yeah. Usually comes on when the IT guy comes out of the room. Is it on now? Okay. He usually does, right? Pokes his head out. Oh, he had to walk all the way
See?
up this time.
He got all the way up.
Perfect timing.
Hi, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm Rianne, as it says, and I just wanted to speak about your school only because I went there. And then my mom and my entire family has been going through your school for the last 17 years. And right now, the youngest of the 7 is in 6th grade at your school. And I would just like to say thank you because you did a lot for our family, and it was a really great school. And I know that sometimes having multiple programs can get difficult, but I loved my time there, and I moved here, so it made coming to Vacaville all the better. So I just say keep pushing, even if the math numbers aren't where you want them yet. These kids are smart, and they're going to get there. Yes, if I'm an example or my family's an example of what you guys put out, I can't wait to see everyone else. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well spoken. So with that, thank you very much for your presentation. I do want to thank, and I apologize if I get the last name wrong, Carter, Taylor, Allison, and Sarah, was it? What's the last name?
Carter, Allison, Taylor, and
Yeah.
Jenna.
Jenna. Old hearing. So Jenna, all of you, fantastic job with public speaking. That's one of the, as you can see, most difficult things to do. And I'm going to take my cue from Rayanne from now on because that was very eloquent. And thank you for speaking up as well. That's what your role is there. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that, we'll go to item number 14, superintendent's comments and correspondence. Dr. Shamiya?
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Did you hear? Who's the first to clap? Up there.
Good evening, board members, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy February. There's been a lot going on and a lot of great stuff. This time of year is kind of exciting because a lot of projects that students are doing, and they're having a lot of programs at the school, and we're starting our hiring season. So we've all been very busy. And starting with Tuesday was our classified job fair. It was, I have to say, amazing. Of course, the HR team with Chris and Manolo heading it off, putting it all together. The room was packed. absolutely packed. We started at 4. People were actually here before we could even open the door. They were waiting in the hallway. And it went till 7, and it was pretty much packed the entire time. Every department for classified, except child nutrition, had a table set up. And it was interesting because I was there for a couple hours. The first table that really had a swarm of people was the crossing guard table, which was fantastic because we need crossing guards. I think one of my favorite parts about it is the staff that participated, because they brought a lot of positivity to the room because they're excited. They love working for this district. And there was just a great energy in the room and a lot of positivity. There was also, in the conference room, they set up computers and taught everybody how to log on to EdJoin so they could actually right there learn how to go in and actually apply for jobs. And within 2 days, you want to guess how many people applied for jobs on EdJoin? Somebody give me a number.
26.
It's even higher than that. Do you have a number, Rayanne? 42. Close. 57 applications in the past 2 days from the job fair. These are the numbers. We had 193 less than last year, but really good numbers, and we also track how people find out. So we're just really excited, really proud. Great event. I have to acknowledge all the people that participated in it. And I'm going to call all of them by name. And if I miss a name, who was there, that person will send me an email and I will give them a Starbucks card as an apology. Our HR team, Chris Manolo, Tammy, Sherway, Megan, and Becky and Mandy did all the setup and the hard work and the organization. Then we had Jennifer and her team from accounting at their table, Corrine, Tracy, Lori. Technology, Ken Johnson was at the table most of the night by himself, but Jessica was back up and helping with the computer issues. Maintenance, Dan, William, and Tony Flores were at the maintenance table. Transportation, Amanda had her bus driver instructor, Christy, and a bus driver, great bus driver who's been with us for years, Becky. And they actually had a page and a half of people signing interested because we really need bus drivers, so we're really excited. And Principal Derek Wycliffe was at the crossing guard table along with this wonderful crossing guard, George, who knows you, JJ, and he loves the fact that you gave him that little card. You gave him, JJ gave all the crossing guards a little gift card for drinks, and he showed it to
For
me.
coffee,
for
not for drink. Let's clarify that on record. That was not a drink.
Okay, not till 9 o'clock. It's early yet. No, some people don't drink coffee, but I just wanted to tell you as an aside, he still has the card. He pulled it out of his pocket and showed it to me Tuesday night. I said, "You didn't cash it in?" And he said, "When somebody recognizes me like that, I hang on to that." Or something. I know. That was nice of you, JJ. Tiffany was at a table for adult ed. Mr. Santa Padre, Ryan, Tony, and Lori were manning the table for educational services, and paraprofessionals Sasha and Cheryl, mainly for paraprofessionals. They also had a page and a half. We really need teacher assistants in the classroom, so that was another need that we're really excited. We had a lot of interest there. Last week, we also had the reclassification ceremony. As you all know, that's when we reclassify English learners to what we call full English proficient. And it was for elementary schools. And all the students, one student from each school gave a speech. This little confident guy was first grade, just really impressive. Just got on the stage confident, spoke, as you said, it's hard to do, gave a great speech. I was really impressed. Many of the students that gave a speech both in English and their native language. And this is actually a really significant milestone for these students. And it's not easy. They have to take the LPAC, which is the state English learner test. They have to take a district basic skills test. They have to have teacher recommendation. So it's actually a really big deal for these students. And they're not just full English proficient, they are actually bilingual. And so we've got 80 students now that are fully reclassified. Very proud of them. And last week I went to the Fairmont STEAM Night for families. They're doing a lot of great projects at Fairmont. The teachers are integrating science, art, and other subjects. They, as you know, they really see themselves as a science charter, science magnet. This display in this teacher's class was actually a special ed class, and the students had to write about the animal, and then they got to do the art of making the animal out of clay. And it was pretty amazing work. There were a lot of stations with some hands-on activities. Also, a lot of displays around integrating science, art, things like history, anthropology. So it's really clear that Fairmont is not only engaging students, but they're doing a lot of great projects with their students. So after the STEAM fair, then they had a presentation called The Science of Sound. Again, now we're combining science with music. And the students, they had this great demonstration, and then the students had the opportunity to actually participate in the music. So great things going on at Fairmont. And last but not least, I know I talk about this every year, but it's one of my absolute favorite events in this district, and a lot of schools in our district, elementaries, do it. I think Cooper recently had their live wax museum. Payton has one coming up. But Jennifer Stahlheber, our CBO, and I went to this morning. It was so much fun. So these students, and you talk about great projects. I mean, these students have to study a historical figure. Then they have to memorize and present on the figure. And I think it's amazing that they sit there like they're deactivated and don't move until you activate them. These are fifth graders. That's the hardest part for a fifth grader, to sit still. They were just amazing. We didn't want to leave. We had so much fun. It's a great activity. I thought this was neat. The two Roosevelts were sitting next to each other. But it is a great project for learning. And speaking of learning, one of our number one adult learners is Jennifer Stahlheber, who went to Washington, D.C. recently. She's on the legislative committee for CASBO, California Association of School Business Officials, who sponsored her trip to D.C., where she got to meet with staffers and I think put Vacaville on the map, but also talk about funding, particularly special ed funding. So she's going to share with us a few things, right?
So it was super exciting. I've never been to Washington, and just being there, the buildings, the history, it was amazing. I wish I had time to see more. But I did get to meet with multiple offices. We had 2 days of visits, and they had us scheduled. I mean, we ran from office to office. And if you've ever been through those buildings, it's a maze. I couldn't go anywhere unaccompanied because I would have gotten lost. I met with Senator Dianne Feinstein's office, Senator Kamala Harris's office, Representative Tom McClintock's office, Representative Katie Porter's office, and Representative Doris Matsu's office. We were also had the opportunity, after we met with Tom McClintock staffer, to meet with him because I was from his area, so we wanted to get a picture. So I don't know, did you get that picture, Jane?
That I didn't.
Yep, right there.
Oh, it
There's
is there.
McClintock
Okay.
and his staffer. So I happened to remember to take my business cards, and every staffer asked for business cards. They loved hearing real stories about constituents in California and about things that we're doing at schools. We talked a lot about special education because there's a bill that was passed to increase the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, funding at the federal level by $440 million. Which isn't a lot, but it does say that it's on their radar, that they're thinking about it, and we're seeing some momentum build for that funding. Every representative we met with brought it up before we even did, and that was one of our main points in our advocacy platform. We also spoke a lot about infrastructure, so they wanted to know about the fires, the power shutoffs, and it was great that I had examples. I talked about Orchard and how we're having to look at upgrading our electrical panels, the cost of that, bringing in generators, and just what we experienced through that, and they were taking copious notes, and also just our experience with special ed. I kind of bragged about our special ed, and that we grew, and we know we're doing good things in special ed because we grew by 200, and our special ed population grew by almost half of that, and we know it's because word is out there that we provide a really high level of service to our students. So we told them, which just exacerbates the need for someone, like Vacaville, because we know we're doing good things. We know that's going to increase costs, but it doesn't keep us from doing those things. But we do need the federal government to step up and and do their 40% that they promised when they made all those mandates. So it was very exciting. I appreciate the district supporting my role in the legislative committee. It's been a big commitment being the chair this year. It just means a lot more late nights at home catching up on emails, but it's worth it. I love that I get called in. I've had the opportunity also, which is this is besides Washington, I've had the opportunity to be on Thurman's LCFF committee this year due to some of the audit findings that they found at the state level. And currently I'm the only CBO that's participating in person in those meetings. We have some folks calling in. So it's been a great opportunity too to share Vacaville stories. I've also been able to testify on a couple of bills at the Capitol, and I've been part of another stakeholder meeting where my input was asked for after the power shutoff. So it's been a really great opportunity. And they know Vacaville when I go in the room now. I think part of it's too Juan. He's doing a lot of things over at CDE, so they know our names. But thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you,
Great
Jennifer.
job.
Great stuff.
So I just want to remind you, school is out next week, and it is Kindness Week, and hopefully I may see some of you tomorrow at the Winter Wishes Kindness Rally at Wilsey Wood, and that's paid in school. Isn't that nice? Yeah, I love that picture. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any board member comments, correspondence? All right. Mr. Silva.
So Jennifer, I really want to thank you for go out of your way and advocating for us at the policy level. I think it's something that's takes a larger commitment and a certain level, even not just expertise but courage to go out there and advocate and share that story, the stories that a lot of us, not just here in Vacaville, endure, but really throughout the state and nation. I won't, in the past I've kind of commented, and we all know that that California underfunds, California public education is funded 40th in the nation with respect to our public education system. And that underfunding is not just from the state, but it's part and due from the feds. So not sure how we address it, but I think just not doing anything doesn't go anywhere. And kind of with that said, I was actually at the state capitol regarding Alzheimer's awareness. So I think most people on this panel know, but my mom has Alzheimer's and it's been a huge challenge. I found out I'm part of what they call the sandwich generation. The sandwich generation. I was like, ooh, we get sandwiches? 'Cause I'll take them. But what it is it's a parent who not only has to take care of their loved one, but also a younger child. And the one thing that I really gathered from that meeting is that one, I know that I'm not alone in that. My family's not alone, and that because there's other families that are out there, not just in this district but statewide, who have these additional challenges with the additional hardship of seeing your loved one forget everything, including who you are, and it's been tough. So I just want to take this moment to give a shout out to all the families and the caregivers that are out there doing their best to take care of loved ones so we can continue taking care of our own kids and making sure that the future generations set up to do well. Quick comment on, or quick announcement on the Solano County School Board Association. Again, on just another reminder, this is open to the public as well. But on April 20th, save the date. It's gonna be a great time. We're gonna actually be doing a series of talks about how local policies influence student achievement. So we'll have some guest speakers leading us through actually a 3-part series, going from April onto our fall meeting, and then all the way continuing to the spring meeting. So it'll be this continuation. One of my personal frustrations and other board member frustrations that, when we talk about, certain topics or certain issues, whether it be equity or policy, you always get this great talk and everybody's all riled up, but then you go home and it's like, what was that about again? So it's really important for a lot of us to actually establish something and build onto that to work towards building relationships with all our partners to move our education system forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mr. Silva. Anybody, anyone else? Oh, yeah. Mr. Kitsis.
Thank you, sir. At some point, I'd like to have some conversation, maybe even some kind of informational presentation. I know there are two competing or dueling potential propositions that are going to be on the ballot this year. One is sponsored by CSBA, which is a full and fair funding proposition, and the other actually is sponsored by CTA and some other organizations called the Schools and Communities First proposition. And both of those, or either one of those, are slated to, if they go through, give a tremendous amount of money towards public education. So I'd like to do some studying about that and make sure that we all have the opportunity to understand it and possibly to vote on endorsing a resolution for one or both of them.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that something, so the board would want like a presentation on an explanation of what they mean for the school district, funding-wise, kind of a breakdown? Is that what you're asking?
Hold on a second, Michael.
I did push it.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine if people want to hear it, from you, that's fine. I mean, I can also do my own, little research, and if I think that it's interesting, I can ask to put it on the agenda. Either one of those is fine with me.
If you said hear from me, I could do that presentation, but somebody smarter than me, like Jennifer, could talk about relation to school funding.
I think I
just want to make sure that
if potential
there's something
money
to do
for the school district, and I think it's something that we should be really aware of.
So, am I being asked? I'm just trying to figure out if I'm being asked to do something, or do you want to do some research and?
No, I mean, I would like to have a basic discussion about it, a presentation about it. If other people are interested in that, that's, obviously it can't just be me. So if other people are interested, that's great. Otherwise, I will do some looking at it and put it on the agenda.
So, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Should we put something on the agenda?
Go ahead.
So are you making a motion or is that necessary?
It's just basically getting the feel of the board. If people are interested in learning about that, then we could get a little presentation from Jennifer or whoever. And if, I don't know, yes, I think it's interesting.
Okay, then with that, we would need at least 4 of you to say, yes, you're interested. So, and then we can put it on the agenda planning session and then move forward from there.
Do you want to send emails or you want us to tell you now?
It's not that complicated.
No.
I mean,
I'm interested.
Well, so just to clarify, I'm interested in learning more about how these two proposals influence our district.
Okay. JJ and I, we can talk about it, John.
Okay.
You want?
Sound like a plan?
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Any other board member comments? Okay. Hearing none. Student board representatives. We'll start with you, Gabby. How are you tonight? I'm doing very good. Vacaville High School. He has to walk out, and then it'll start working.
There you go.
Oh, different door.
Turn it on. It'll work now.
Try it.
You get scared of him.
Oh. There you go. Good backup plan, Mr. Silva.
Good evening, board members. Vaca High wrestling team just finished the MEL League season unbeaten, making it the 26th year in a row that our wrestling team has won the MEL. Wow. Last Friday, we had our winter blood drive. I was happy to announce that I was one of the people who donated and saved 3 people's lives. Out of the 36 blood drive donors, we collected 48 units of life-saving blood. Each unit of blood can potentially save 3 lives, so we helped save the lives of 144 people. Earlier today, we had our winter rally to support our winter sports on their last game of the season, and the theme was We Sports. Yesterday and today at lunch, we had our spring club fair, and all the clubs on campus had an opportunity to recruit new members and broadcast new activities. Congratulations to this week's Senior of the Week, Austin Morgan, and congratulations to this week's Artist of the Week, Devin Hawkins. Tonight we have our last boys basketball game of the season against Wood at Wood. And then tomorrow we have our last girls basketball game at home against Wood. Our theater arts class presents the first annual One Act Festival. The One Act Festival includes 4 short plays, from a secretive love affair to a group of angry pigs and a few stops in between. Come enjoy this free event on Friday, February 28th and Saturday, February 29th at 6 p.m. in the Little Theater. The ASFAB will be held on February 25th in the library at 8:50 a.m. And then April 9th is the date for this year's MORP. The theme is Astroworld. And May 1st is the date for this year's Mr. GQ pageant with the theme Bachelor. Applications for boys to participate in this event has already gone out this week, and we already have 5 applicants out of the 10 we need. The quote of the day that is shared at Vaca High, different quotes every day, but today was, I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed by Michael Jordan. Thank you.
All right. Nice job, Gabby. Thank you very much. Rayanne from Wilsey Wood. Yeah. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. So, this past week has been one of our most highly anticipated weeks, and it's one of the most loved all around. This is our Kindness Week, and our Kindness Week is huge, and it's amazing. So, we really kind of hit the ground running with it, and every other year, the Link Crew, they do this amazing tie-dye event out in the quad the entire day. And yay, 2020 was our year, so we got to do a bunch of tie-dyeing. And the whole point is you tie-dye on your Wildcat family shirt, and then you're going to wear it on Friday, tomorrow, which is our Winter Wishes Rally, which I would love to formally invite you guys to come. It starts at 11:30, and if you really want to get a feel of what Wilsey Wood is all about, that is the rally to see. It is full of just joy and giving back to our Wildcat family. Last year, our auto shop actually rebuilt and fixed up a car and donated it to one of the families here at our school. I don't know what's in store for this year, but I do know I got a slip saying I'm a part of it. So let's hope I don't have to do anything super embarrassing, but hey, what can you do? So students were buying the tie-dye shirts like this entire week. They've been going crazy. This is one of the most, like, the biggest events to look forward to, because not only do you get to miss out on your science class, you get to have your very own fashionably, like, made yourself shirt that, hey, everyone likes to rock tie-dye. It's coming back. It's pretty stylish. So we've been doing really well in sports as well. Just last night, we had a soccer game. Our girls played against Vaca High, and they actually won. So now we're in the playoffs. This is super exciting. Go our girls. Our girls' basketball team played Fairfield last night in basketball and actually doubled their score and ended up with 56 to their 23. So good for them. And it was also their senior night, so it was really great to honor those seniors and to see, like, how excited they were, and they really put their hearts out on that court and played their best, and it really showed off. One of the biggest things we've done these last 2 weeks is actually an SBCA fundraiser. So I'm sure you guys all have heard of Jared Ropalato, at least a little bit. Yeah, he's kind of a name. So he hasn't cut his hair since April of last year, and this is important, I promise. So he decided he wanted to do something. We had all in ASB being like telling him to cut his hair. It's getting to a point where something needs to happen. So he was like, okay, I'll cut my hair, and to make things even better, I'll have a class do it, and they can cut my hair however they want, whatever they want to do. The only thing is they have to win in a fundraiser, and it was up to the service leadership to decide where all the money was going to be donated to. And they finally settled on the SPCA. So this last week and a half, at the start of third period, every day, the leaders of Wilsey Wood get scattered across all of campus, and we're begging for spare change. Like, hey, if you want to give Rope a mullet, put in a couple dimes. So far, today was our last day. Tomorrow, Rope's hair will be cut, and if you come to the rally, you will see whatever it will be. I don't know, and I'm kind of worried about it because that's going to be interesting. We raised a total of $2,352 and quite a lot of change, and it was a great experience. I definitely had to count a lot of it, and it took a lot of time. People liked pennies a lot. That was a lot of pennies. And actually, our winning class was our service leadership. We took him out of the running for a little bit because within the first 2 days, they had already raised $400 on their own. They were pretty serious about this. I mean, they are. They're great people. So in total, out of the 2,000, they raised over $700. Wow. And actually, a girl came in after hearing about the fundraiser, and she told us about her pet goat and how her pet goat had passed away. And she said that in honor of her pet goat, she will be doing whatever Rope does to his hair, to her hair. Now, this mortified me because, oh no, I would never let any student touch my hair. But I am so amazed by her passion for animals, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. Maybe they'll go a little easier on him because she's involved, but I don't know, guys. I don't know. So you're going to have to come see for yourself what it looks like, and then also see all the students in their tie-dye and see me probably get made fun of in a Winter Wishes rally. So this is going to be pretty exciting. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Starts at 11:30. I know it's because we have a different schedule. It's a little bit different now, so it's right before lunch.
So did the time change? Because we have on our calendar 2:30.
Yeah, the time definitely changed because the schedules
you're
are
here.
different now
Okay.
because of the whole
We'll check.
advisory
Okay.
and flex times. So it'll be starting at around 11:34, but I'm sure you're going to want to get there before the
Okay.
whole mass of students come rushing in. So it'll actually be starting at 11:30, and then it'll go all the way up until a little bit past noon, where then the students will be let out and they'll go to lunch. So, thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, Rayanne. Appreciate that. And no reps tonight?
No.
Okay. Fantastic. With that, we'll go ahead and then go to staff reports. The Northwest Evaluation Association presentation, Director of Elementary Education, Ryan Gallus. I got you.
You can call me anything you'd like,
Yeah.
Mr. Jensen. Hello, board members and Superintendent Shumia.
Anything? Don't say that to JJ.
Yeah, I know. He takes advantage of things like that. I'm excited to share with you where we are with the NWA assessment program. We've had over 6 months with this program, and after some bumps and bruises, I think we're in a place where we can share some good progress and show our vision for where we are going. NWA is not a new assessment system. It's been around for 40 years. Map growth is the assessment that we're using within the NWA system. It took the place of STAR assessments, which we used previously. The goal with the system is growth and providing insights to guide instruction and intervention. It's not a mastery test. And as we get into the test scale, we'll see that it's a measure of skills learned and tracks growth across the grade level spans. These are nearby districts that are using NWA. We are not alone in the county with its use. A big piece of the program's genesis is the changing data culture in our district. Growth mindset is central to this. The test focuses on growth, and it pushes kids to the point of what they know and what they don't know, which is a fundamentally different kind of assessment. It's not a mastery test, so it gives teachers insights into instruction and intervention for each child individually in their classroom. Growth versus fixed mindset is something that we've come across in the nature of embracing this test. It is change, and it frames effort differently. It emphasizes skills, and it emphasizes learning. By and large, the more we've approached this assessment with a growth mindset, the more successful we have been. The scale this assessment uses is the RIT scale. And what is a RIT scale or a RIT score? RIT stands for Rasch Unit, the researcher who came up with the scale. Essentially, the higher the RIT score, the greater skills and achievement a student has in the subject. RIT is continuous along the grade level span, and it's more easily trackable between grade levels. The RIT bands, to conceptualize it a little bit, can be seen as buckets of learning. And those buckets of learning give guidance to teachers on what students are ready to learn next. So RIT, in summary, is an achievement scale. It's linked to curriculum. It's a scale that has equal intervals. And like I said earlier, it's independent of grade levels, although norms give us an indication of percentile rank comparison, which is more easily understandable for both our teachers and our parents at this point. Once we've mastered this new measure, we will be able to answer the question, what are our students ready to learn today? And I'd like to show some sample reports. This is a student English language arts report, and I know it looks very busy and there's a lot of dimensions there. The easiest thing to look at first is the achievement percentile ranks for both achievement and for growth. And it shows how a student with comparative results would score on the Smarter Balanced assessment. It gives us a reading level, an approximate zone of proximal development, and lexile level. We also get an idea on the right-hand side of how students perform in the instructional areas. These are all dimensions within the Common Core state standards. And for this student, we can see that literature and informational texts are equally weighted as strengths. A suggested area of focus for this student would be vocabulary acquisition and use. This could point the teacher into either an intervention plan or an independent learning plan through online tools or programs or differentiated instruction within the classroom. We also get district level reports, and this is also kind of an eye test for you, but I'll kind of walk you through how we would like to use this. This is the first time we've had comparable data district-wide that gives us something to do with the data and have some district-wide insights. While CASP and the SBAC are informative, we don't really get to see the results until after students have left that grade level. This data that we get is actionable, and it gives us information to make decisions with. There's also a link to potential actions and services within our LCAP, so we can track and target subgroup performance and growth. Obviously, we want to see RIT scores grow. The conditional growth percentile, which I highlighted on the right-hand side, tells us whether our growth is on target with commensurate peers. 50% is considered to be average within the instructional areas. So that's an ELA report. This is what the report looks like for math for students. And similar to ELA, we see the testing areas. And for this student, we can see achievement is above normal expectations. This student would be projected to be at level 4 on the CASP. And in the instructional areas, we see instead of an instructional focus area, we see a relative strength in operations and algebraic thinking. So just like we talked about intervention with the previous student in ELA, this conversation leads us to think about enrichment and project-based learning opportunities. It can also lead to acceleration of concepts through things like Khan Academy. District level math reports. Math, as it was mentioned earlier with the Hemlock report, is a focus for us district-wide. And with this tool, we now have a way to track growth and progress district-wide. And we want to see the needle move in terms of what are we doing in PD, instructional strategies, and using tools for intervention like Khan Academy. Are they having an impact on students' math achievement? The picture highlighting growth on the right-hand side is a stronger picture for us than compared to ELA. And that's a very good sign that some district initiatives that we're doing are having an impact. We went into a classroom recently, 4th grade classroom at Sierra Vista. And one of the things that drew us into that classroom was this teacher had a 97th percent growth percentile. So that means her students had grown greater than 97% of students compared with a nationwide subgroup. And we wanted to see what was happening there. And one of the things that she was using was Khan Academy, which was an intervention and acceleration program. She was using formatives to guide student assessment and intervention. And she was also teaching through technology in a fun and engaging way. So using a tool like this shows that some of those practices that she's using are being effective. She had 97% growth when her grade level peers had 7% growth. And it helps us see kind of as a district where our best practices are and how we can replicate those and share them with others. These are our timelines going into next year. This year we started taking the full-length test at the beginning of the year, and we learned that that is too much too soon with this assessment. Like I said earlier, we had some growing pains with this. They do have shorter screeners that are appropriate for the beginning of the school year, and we can use the longer tests at our trimester intervals to inform instruction and measure growth. Like I said, implementation has been a little bit bumpy, but the key to anything that's bumpy is how you learn from it. And then for us is embracing the growth mindset and learning from the things that have been difficult. We've become more efficient in the way that we're giving the assessment and how we read the results. And we want more than anything to celebrate growth wherever and whenever we see it. The learning continuum, which I reference here and I'll show you next, will be a tool that will continue to emphasize instruction and intervention. And this is a busy document that you'll see here, but I wanted to show you a tool that the teachers will see. The column on the left, as we talked about the buckets of learning in those 10-point intervals, is what a student has mastered. The bucket in the middle is what a student is ready to learn now. And then the bucket on the right are the skills that they are working toward. And this is a narrow band of instruction. This isn't the kind of data that we get from the CASP. The CASP gives us very broad categories that we can interpret the results. This gives us the opportunity to really narrow down a focus, and a lot of teams that use PLCs and essential standards can use this tool to not only guide their instruction, but also guide their interventions. Lessons that we've learned, starting all at the beginning of the year, and some of our teachers were so eager to see the new replacement for STAR reading and math that they started week 1, and that was too much too soon. We recognized that a slower phase-in with a pilot would have been better. Also embracing the fundamental difference with this test. The nature of the test is meant to push students to the point of what they know and what they don't know. And it's very different from a lot of mastery-based tests. And so we recognized, setting the stage and setting the foundation for this was a big undertaking. And so we've had some of the growing pains that come with that. There are 2 resources that are worth checking out for more information, and these both come from the NWEA website. The first is a student video resource, which paints the picture in the student's mind of how this test is fundamentally different and how mindsets should change going into testing. And this is one that our teachers have used with their students and shown before every test just to set the stage. This is different than the chapter tests you're taking. This is different than the CASP. This is how we approach it. The other resource is a practice test, and it can give you an idea of what the rigor of the test looks like. And I think if you logged in and went through that, you'd see it's very, very much CASP-like with the tools and how they integrate them. Putting this all together and kind of setting the vision for what this looks like. The vision for this, as we look into the future of assessment, is the dashboard, as we saw from the Hemlock example. The dashboard wants us to grow, and we want tools that help us show the growth. Growth in data encourages the growth mindset, and with this tool we can individualize a learning path for students based on their data. It also supports other district-wide initiatives in our district like project-based learning and workshop-based instruction. This is the first time we've had a meaningful tool, at least in the elementary grades, for math intervention through use of Khan Academy in our district, and that's really exciting to see. NWA also supports the changing culture around data in our district, such as using formatives, tracking actions and services in LCAP, and how we approach the CASP. So that is, in a nutshell, what NWA is all about and how it's been working in our district. And with that, I'd love to answer your questions.
Mr. Silva.
I was privileged to get to hear this twice. So thank you, Ryan, for spending the morning with me yesterday, clarifying a lot of different things. I just one of the things that I had the opportunity to actually witness the test being taken in practice, and I think a lot of the frustration from that I just had observed was students had frustrations trying to understand how to use the software, particularly with the drag and drop feature. One thing I forgot to mention to you yesterday, so I was able to, well, I mentioned this to you, so I was able to hack into that practice test. I figured out the password, so because I'm a science guy. So actually, it wasn't that hard. But anyways, but I was able to hack. I keep saying hack into it. I used for example, there's a problem in there with a protractor, and it asks to identify the nearest degree, right? So, but depending on how it lined up, is at 97, 98, 96. Anyway, so to me, one of what's become my pet peeves is what we choose to allocate our resources to. So, I know everything comes with a cost. My concern is are we actually getting the money, or are we actually getting our money's worth? So when we sign a contract to someone, they say, oh, we're going to fulfill these, we're going to provide this service or this good. Well, we shouldn't have to have additional training to work around any flaws that may exist within their software. To me, it's my opinion that they should adapt or fix whatever flaws that they have, especially if it's creating some type of equitable issue with respect to even our district. So it's just, to me, we shouldn't have to dedicate additional training resources to train staff and to reiterate to students, because even me as a teacher, I can explain everything perfectly like I always do to my students. But then there's always going to be 10% of them, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. To me, I think a lot of that can be addressed, that I feel should be addressed with NWA. So that's I'm hoping to hear that those small issues, which should be small issues on their end, get addressed. So, but I
you're right,
do
they should be intuitive, and one of the things that we're finding is the more that we're using it, the more our students are becoming familiar with the tools, the better our teachers are using the tools and kind of teaching the kids on the front end. Remember, this is how we use this tool, and some of the things I think we've dealt with are just growing pains from change and something that's really new.
all that and I appreciate all the transparency and whatnot. I think that's remarkable from a leadership perspective of responding to that. My issue is just whether or not the company fulfills their issues with making sure that their technology is up to date, to where it's accessible towards our districts, yeah, that's that. So, but anyways, I really do thank I thank you for taking the time yesterday. I learned a lot, and it was good info.
Yeah, thank you for making the time.
Good. Mrs. Daly.
Did I just turn myself off?
You did. Hold on a
I do
second.
it all the time.
I get you right here.
I just have a question. It sounds like, from what Mike experienced with the drop-down menus and stuff, that it's very CASP-like. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I think that that's great, because I think part of our issue with scores is always about how to take the test, and especially with these. So are teachers feeling that they're getting more comfortable with their students on the computers and doing those items?
Absolutely. Okay. So we're in the middle of the third round of testing, and the first was extremely painful and bumpy.
I heard about it.
The second was less so, and after we got the data from the second round, there were some light bulbs that started going on. Oh, there's this information, there's this insight that I can gain from it. The third time around, there's even more intrinsic motivation to want to see growth and to want to see how students perform. I think one of the big shocks to our system is the rigor of the test, and how difficult it was for our students, and students who are used to getting every question right. This tool is trying to get students to find out the things that they don't know. So there are going to be some questions that they get wrong. So that is a fundamentally different test. So through the growing pains, we've learned it is very CASP-like. The rigor is there, but we also get the data, unlike the CASP, to be able to do something with it. So now we can use it as a teaching tool and an instruction tool to help with student learning.
I think 1 or 2 years down the line, it'll be really, I mean, it's going to take a while for everybody to get to that point, because that growth mindset is where the teachers have to get to, because I know it's hard for them not to feel that they can get a kid to get mastery, because they feel responsible for what that kid does on a test.
Right.
So as long as everybody's moving in the same direction, it'll take a while, but I'm glad that you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wyndham.
Yeah, so thanks, Ryan. That was a great presentation. I appreciate it. And I think what I appreciate most is, and I know you talked about some of the bumps in the road, and I also had an opportunity along with Mr. Silva to kind of see some of the early implementation of it, and I think I really appreciate how you address that, and hopefully we continue to support staff, because I think that's anytime you do something new, there's always challenges, there's always kind of unforeseen situations that come up, and I think a lot of that was kind of what we were seeing because it was kind of something new. But I think that's supporting staff is always super important, and getting staff input. It sounds like you're doing that, and I appreciate that, because I think that makes the program better, but it also helps staff to feel supported and heard. So it sounds like there's a lot of potentially really good benefits to it, and I look forward to hearing more about it in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Go back a few slides to where I think it said reinforce, and that one.
Oh.
Fantastic. So is this one, you get a readout for each kid, each grade level? Where does this information
So this would
apply
be
to?
a student's kind of learning continuum. So if you wanted to look at a particular area within number sense and drill down to the skill level, this is a tool that teachers can use. And this is something we're scratching the surface on, and teachers are becoming more and more acquainted with. This allows us to get down to the skill level of what students know and what they are ready to learn, and then what's that next piece beyond that.
And then we test 4 times a year.
This year, we set 4 different testing windows, but essentially, we met with some of our teams this year, third through 6th grade, because CASP comes at the same time that we had our last window. We're making that last window optional. So it'll be 3 essentially.
But that gives us immediate feedback versus the CASP we don't get till the following year.
Yeah, we get it in 24 hours after students take it.
With this
With
program.
this,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you for the presentation. Anyone else? All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right. 18B, facilities update. Aaron McGuire is going to provide us. Says less than 10 minutes.
Oh, easily. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Shamiya. Yes, normally Dan Banowitz does this, but he's unavailable, so I'm his stand-in. I'll just jump right into it. The facilities update, some projects that we have and things that have been happening lately. Markham Elementary, the improvement project there, the first classrooms, the first 13 have been completed, and we're in there. We received furniture for those classrooms on January the 29th, and then moved the teacher contents in on February the 1st, and then opened the classrooms and I started using them on February the 3rd. 4 empty portables that we vacated when we moved out, or moved into, excuse me, the 13 classrooms were demolished and removed from the site on February the 4th. And then 9 other portables that we vacated were transported to our Elmira site for storage for future use. That was completed on February 11th. We'll start working on the pads for the new buildings, the next phase of classrooms that are coming in. That would be buildings O and P. They're being built in the factory right now. The next round of classrooms, O and P and the MP room, are set to open the start of next school year. If you haven't been by there lately, I encourage you to go and check it out. The MP room is being framed and it's looking really good. Zanino improvements. The weather, actually we had a really great start, then we had a lot of wet weather, it slowed us down, but now the weather is perfect for construction and we're really hitting it hard. So it's going well. Last week, or earlier this week I should say, I worked with Coach Pop and Mr. Thomas on the layout and the markings of the track surface. So that is shaping up. It's currently scheduled for completion on May 18th. Sierra Vista admin building improvements. We received some new admin furniture for that site on February 5th and then moved moved staff, admin staff, into some offices that were created for them on February 8th, created in what used to be the library space. Library space is now in the what used to be the MP room. The front end of admin is now under construction, and scheduled for completion for that is spring break. So we should be able to move all the admin back into the front of the building and be done. We're also working on the exterior of the library, just replacing some siding. Buckingham project, architects have begun preliminary design for that. They'll be bringing a schematic to a future board meeting, hopefully soon, for you all to approve. I've been meeting with principals from Country High, Buckingham, and Ernest Kimmy to just kind of go over planning and logistics for all the work that we hope to be doing this summer. Other small projects that we have progressing right now, security cameras at Brown Street. That would be 343 and 353 Brown Street. We're down to 2 cameras that are currently on back order. As soon as we get them, we'll get them installed. Wilsey Wood Theater, we're doing a HVAC replacement. That will be on the March 5th board agenda for your approval. And the Fairmont solar panels are likely going to be going on spring break. And the old district office should begin demolishing end of April, possibly first week of May. They're doing the, this week they've been doing the hazmat testing as preparation for that. We have another COC meeting for Measure A, COC Citizens Oversight Committee, on March 8th at 6 p.m. And we're going to do that at Markham so they can get a look at the campus and what's been going on over there. That's my update. Y'all have any questions about anything?
Seeing none, thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Yeah,
thank you.
Very nice. Okay, moving on to action items. 19A, it's requested that the board approve Resolution 16, 2019-2020, authorization to establish Fund 05 Fairmont Charter School Special Revenue Fund.
Would you like Ms. Stahlheber to give a quick overview on?
By all means, that would be fantastic.
It's your night to shine.
She shines every night.
Yes, she does.
There's a new GASB rule, which is Government Accounting Standards Board. I do not recall what number it is. They've added a lot in the last few years. I know, I'm off my game. That requires that we now have to use Fund 08 to report ASB activities. And we have used that fund in the past to report Fairmont. And so we had to create a new fund for them now that we're going to have to move all of our ASB activity into that Fund 08.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Kitsis, second by Ms. Smallberg. This is a roll call vote.
Okay.
And
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
yes. So 19B, we have a speaker's request card for process for me. Do we need to get a motion and a second on this before we hear the speaker, or do we hear the speaker first? What's usually done?
For this item? No, the speaker can come up first.
Fantastic. Hiding back there, hello.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Kelly Welsh-Dwyer, and I'm a parent of 2 kids at Browns Valley Elementary. And first, I just want to thank the superintendent and all the board members for your service and dedication to our students in Vacaville here. I greatly appreciate everything that you do. I just wanted to speak on 19B and 19C, but before I do, real quick, I wanted to thank Michael for bringing up the topic of the Prop 13 measures. It's very confusing to voters right now because there is a Prop 13 measure, which is a school bond on the March ballot. However, there's another measure that's going to be coming up in 2020, which would reform the 1978 Prop 13 and basically reforms the commercial property taxes and would bring in billions for our schools. So I think that actually having a presentation on that for the board and to educate our community members and families and voters in Vacaville would be extremely important.
As for 19B, I just wanted to give my support for this. My son attended Markham Elementary for TK and benefited immensely from that program there. And I think it's especially important for our lower income families in Vacaville who are in great need of preschool services to have this extra money. You know, having childcare available to our families not only helps our kids grow, but allows parents to get to work if needed. So I think 19B should be a no-brainer. And then I also had a comment on 19C, but I can wait for that.
Yeah, we'll just let you go ahead and do it right now. How's that?
Okay,
Yeah.
just for 19C, I believe the recommended action should be supported for our mental health services. It's obviously it's crucial for our students. My daughter benefits from counseling services at Browns Valley Elementary, and students need these services desperately, and it's wonderful that it's free and accessible, but we need to expand these services. So I just wanted to express my support for that grant application. So,
great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for staying around, and thank you for your input. So 19B, recommended that the board approve resolution number 17, 2019-2020, authorizing the contract with the California Department of Education for state preschool funds. Do I have a motion?
Go ahead, Michael. Motion. I'll second it.
All right, motion by Mr. Silva, second by Mrs. Daly, and another roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 19C, we have a presentation, so I will ask, it looks like we have three folks there, Nicola, Tracy, and Meredith, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Nicola Parr, Director with Solano County Office of Education, and we do have two co-presenters here this evening. We have Meredith Webb, Clinical Services Supervisor with SCO, as well as Tracy Lacey, Senior Manager with Solano County Behavioral Health. There was a brief two-page overview of the Mental Health Student Services Act grant opportunity, and we are happy to provide you with some background information and also answer questions that you may have. And I will now take the time to turn this over to Tracy.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We're really excited about this opportunity for us to build our relationships with our Office of Ed and all of our school districts in Solano County. The purpose of this grant money from the state really is to do just that. They actually released this grant with two categories, one category being for communities that already had relationships and one category for communities that didn't have relationships between county behavioral health and the local education community. So we are fortunate that we do work together, and this is just an opportunity for us to expand services. So the grant will be administered through the county behavioral health Health and Social Services Department, and we've selected Solano County Office of Education to be the lead in order to be able to provide services. And the grant itself, there were 4 listening sessions that the Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission held over a course of several months, gathering information from young people, from parents, from community members around what needed to be expanded in terms of mental health services in the schools. And so the grant, if you've had a chance to read it, I think we provided that link as well. It's an impressive grant RFP application, one of the most impressive I've seen in terms of there are a lot of requirements that they have and things they're looking to see us partner on doing better. And really there's a anchoring in prevention and identifying kids and children and youth when they're young, early in their mental health condition, in order to be able to intervene and prevent young people from developing disabling mental health conditions. So we're here, we're available to answer questions. I know there were some questions that were presented to me. I don't know if you want me to kind of respond to some of those, or if other folks want to ask questions, I can do that as well. So one of the first questions was asked around the proposal seeks to expand and leverage program elements that have been piloted by SCO's schools, including PBIS, training, and technical assistance. So there was a request to elaborate on this. So right now, the Office of Ed uses a particular screening tool for the students that they serve to identify when there's a mental health condition or suicide risk, or even commercially sexually exploited children risk, CSEC risk factors. And so this grant would allow the opportunity for that screening tool to continue to be used, but expanded to other districts for students that are referred to SCO for services. A big component of the grant, hopefully you saw, was dropout prevention. So they identified working with children who were either being suspended, had truancy issues, or expelled, and also children that are maybe being, I always say this wrong, Nikki, home hospital. So children who have been maybe hospitalized and are home on independent study, not able to come back to school. So there is some intent around being able to expand those services to those students. And then I'm not sure how much folks are aware of the Wellness Center initiative that we have been doing over the last year. So Solano County Behavioral Health Mental Health Services Act dollars, we had some money that was in a category called innovation and was at risk of reverting. And so we've been working with school districts across the county and put out one initial opportunity for funding, and we'll be releasing a second opportunity. And so this will allow school districts to select certain school sites to have wellness centers or wellness rooms. And again, the idea is to provide a safe space for students to go when they're feeling overwhelmed, so they can recenter and be able to then go back to the classroom shortly thereafter, so that they can be able to be open to learning. And so that would expand upon that. And all of this is anchored in the PBIS model, which most of the districts are doing. And then Solano County Behavioral Health also already funds MHSA prevention and early intervention funds are used, and all 6 school districts are benefiting from that. I believe A Better Way, one of our school contractors, is located in 1 or 2 of your schools. I know you have a very comprehensive program through the Vacaville PD program. So we're just augmenting where we can. We also provide free training, suicide prevention trainings, and other trainings for your districts, your teachers and parents, and student workshops, and that's also provided by the Office of Education. So those are things that we would just be able to expand upon what we're already doing. And the grant does pull for us to gather information around what each party, County Behavioral Health, Office of Ed, and any school district or charter school participating, what we're already doing towards school or student wellness. So I'll stop there, and if people want me to expand upon that more, I will before I go to the next question.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
You mentioned our contract with the PD, with the mental health interns. We also have, I don't want to say fairly robust, but a mental health structure that was the will of the board 3 years ago, that have dedicated LCAP funds to, where we have 10 mental health clinicians at our 17 schools, which I think the parent here was referring to, the assistants. So I just wanted to make sure that there would be some maybe partnership and cooperation that we're working, that it's not unnecessarily duplicative, but will expand on that we already have, and that those that whoever the staff are at SCO will work directly with our clinicians.
Absolutely. So the grant precludes us from supplantation. So we have to do something above and beyond. And there's a heavy emphasis on coordinating care and linking to services for ongoing treatment. So there would be an element of that. So there's some very defined focuses of this grant. So dropout prevention, suicide prevention. There's a particular piece around screening for K through 3rd graders. And that's something that not all school districts are doing. And that's something that we're hoping that we can formulate a learning collaborative so that we can learn from each other. There's a fair amount. Are you familiar with the ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences?
Yes.
So there's a fair amount of emphasis now on doing universal screenings through primary care and through some other entities. And certainly there's looking at that from the behavioral health lens. And also our folks that are being diagnosed with schizophrenia, psychosis, they're being diagnosed much younger. So typically it would be in your late teens and early 20s. We have a early psychosis program now that serves ages 12 to 30. And I will tell you, of the 46 young people that they served, over half of them were between the ages of 12 and 14. And they constantly get calls asking if an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old can be referred to the program. So I believe that that's why the state is really emphasizing screenings, really trying to identify early on so that we can intervene and prevent young people from getting very sick. But there would be lots of coordination.
Great.
We wouldn't be, the staff from SCO wouldn't be coming in and doing what people are already doing. They'd be supporting that staff by providing training, TA, and then coming in for specific services to
Great.
students that you all would identify and refer.
I have another question, what you said about the rooms, the wellness,
The wellness
sorry.
centers.
I don't know if it's going to be the same requirements as the first grant, but the first one required like a 3-year agreement to have this room for 3 years. Our issue right now in Vacaville is we don't have any room. we don't have any space. So especially at our elementaries, we're actually looking for expansion. You know, we had to overflow students. So it's really truly an issue. So that was the issue for us too. If we could find a space, we may do it, but the 3-year commitment was a concern. So I don't know if there's any consideration around maybe a little more leeway or something different in the requirements for the next grant that you were going to put out
So
there.
I would ask you just to put forward your proposal and what you think you might be able to do. What we want to prevent or what we need to prevent is coming in and funding the startup of these rooms, which really County Behavioral Health is funding the furnishings, the images and the posters that would go on the wall, potentially iPads for kids to be checking in so that we can be collecting data, trainings if the district or the site wants particular trainings, so up to 20,000. And it's part of a larger innovation project where these are wellness centers or wellness rooms with a cultural lens. So it really came out of a project that's focused on reducing healthcare disparities. And so we wouldn't want to have a room set up and then the next year you do a takeaway. If you get the young people used to having the space and then you take it away the next year, then we really haven't helped.
Right, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
We have such a space issue.
I recommend if there's a high school or a middle school where you do have a space, and some of the schools are opting to do what they're calling nooks. So selecting an area of the library that's a little bit more private, where there can be an area where young people can come and kind of center and go back to class. I think we visited 16 wellness centers, 13 to 16 wellness centers in other communities, and the idea is that young people come out of the classroom for 10 or 15 minutes and then go back to class. And we've already seen some really impressive success stories with this students that are accessing these at the 5 pilot centers. So far we opened 3 of them in Dixon, all 3 elementary schools in Dixon, the Golden Hills Alternative Ed site at the SCO campus, and then Vallejo Adult Ed. So these are K through 12 and adult ed sites, and we anticipate opening another 20 to 30 before the end of the school year. Do you want me to go to the next question?
Yeah, so you already did number 2, so yeah.
Can I follow up on that?
3 and
Sure.
4. So.
So thank you, Jane, for bringing that up.
1 second.
So formal.
No, I have to make your mic active. That's what I have to do.
Thank you, Jane, for bringing, or Superintendent Shimei, for bringing that up. So my question is, what happens if we can't provide a facility, or what?
So might I ask?
So if we approve this and
so
we're
this
unable,
is a little bit separate from that. So you don't
But to
have to
support
do
it?
a wellness center
Okay.
to leverage this grant.
Okay.
So there's 2 really kind of awesome opportunities right now for us to partner. And one is the student wellness centers or wellness rooms. That's up to 20,000. A lot more flexible than this grant that we're applying for the state. We're really willing to work with school districts and school sites around if you're just quite close. We'll make considerations and look at setting up those wellness rooms. That's going to be much easier. This grant that we're applying for from the state is going to be highly competitive. We are competing. There are 14 medium-sized counties, and they will only be awarding 4 of these grants to 4 communities. And they're really looking for partnership and plans to collaborate and how do we learn from each other and really improve the wellness of our students. So they're kind of 2 separate things. You don't have to have a room in order to benefit from this grant we're talking about tonight.
All right. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. I'm recognizing in question number 2, there was an ask around whether or not we considered your current services and did research or incorporated data. So we did have a stakeholder meeting. We invited the school district representatives to attend, and we asked for data. We also subsequently provided a written document for more data and more information to be pulled, because again, in the proposal, they're asking for us to identify what our partners, what the parties are already doing. So there isn't we're not asking for any school district to give a certain dollar amount or a certain percentage of a match. We're just simply saying, what are you already doing? So we elicited that information. I also have the opportunity several times a year, along with my scope partners and A Better Way, who's providing some of the direct services, to meet with each school district. So we frequently hear what the needs are in terms of mental health. So all that's been taken into consideration while also trying to fit into the confines of this grant.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the question number 3 was around whether the grant would pay for substitutes, and it will not.
Okay.
So it's intended, any of the funding that goes to staffing or personnel is really to be providing the direct mental health services.
Yeah, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
which is because we were excited about the component of all the training and training for a lot of staff, but then we'd have to come up with some money for subs,
Yes.
which could be a challenge.
Yeah.
But
And I think we can also try and find ways to be flexible around when trainings are presented. And, we're willing to work with the districts because our PEI contract that we already have, the MHSA funded PEI contract, one of the deliverables for the vendors that are doing this is trainings for school staff and parents, has been really challenging in the last couple of years. This district is no different than any other district around substitutes.
And even if you come up with alternate days, that you're restricted by contract time and, so yeah.
Yeah. It's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's one of those requirements they have in the grant around providing training and support, and particularly suicide prevention. So then the 4th question that I had was direct services, crisis intervention from scope clinicians. So I wasn't aware that this district had specific mental health crisis teams. I knew you had lots of mental health staff and then the intern program. We want to support where there's support needed. So if your district really has those needs met, then maybe there's another district that doesn't, and that attention or that service could be more heavily weighted towards that district.
So we have, because we have mental health clinicians assigned. We work with SROs and other staff at the school. I think what struck me more about that was, and it might be a different level of crisis intervention, but what struck me more about the statement, it said a SCO. So the image I had in mind is SCO in Fairfield coming to help a student in crisis in Vacaville. And I think you have to hurry. I couldn't see it in my head. So
Sorry, just to clarify, logistically?
yeah, if I have a student in crisis, and we had one recently, and she was throwing chairs, and we need somebody now, not to come. So
right. So your staff would respond in the now moment, with the training that they have. What we find, and this is in any system, including county behavioral health, there are clinicians that are more comfortable with the crisis intervention than others, right? So sometimes when somebody says, I'm thinking about killing myself, depending on somebody's training, comfortability, their intervention may be, let me get you to a crisis program. So a crisis stabilization unit or some other entity that has more training and experience doing crisis services. So the county is looking at implementing a mobile crisis unit or team. We did release an RFP. We will have to release another RFP because we unfortunately didn't have bidders for that. But our thought was, instead of having an external partner who isn't familiar with schools and the school culture coming in, the mobile crisis unit would be available to school resource officers. So the goal here around this, and the goal from the state, and the reason this is in the grant, is there are quite frankly not enough child hospital beds in the state. And so when I go to the Mental Health Advisory Board, there are board members that work in our local EDs, and every month there is complaints about 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds sitting in emergency rooms for 3 days because they're still at risk and there are no beds to place them in. So the hope would be to have staff that are well-trained that would augment what your staff are doing in the moment when someone's throwing a chair. If somebody is now at the point of suicidal, it's a different level of crisis. Kid cussing you out and throwing a chair across, that's a crisis in a classroom, for sure. We're talking about a young person who's thinking about killing themselves or hurting somebody else. And when you would typically be initiating a 5150. So that's where we want to have specially trained staff coming in that would be able to intervene and hopefully de-escalate and not have to have young people go even to an emergency room or a crisis stabilization unit. We did unfortunately have an increase in suicides. From 2018, we had 2 children die by suicide. In 2019, we had 5. And I have statistics here if you want me to share around our CSU. So these are just Medi-Cal eligible young people coming through our crisis stabilization unit. This isn't even including the young people that went to a Kaiser emergency room or North Bay. The numbers are staggering. And we need to try and intervene, and that's partly why we want to have wellness rooms and wellness centers, is we need to intervene and make it okay to talk about these kind of feelings and these thoughts and get help and ask for help before we get to a point of a young person wanting to take their life.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second.
You're gonna give Michael a mic?
Just for you, Tracy.
I know.
2 things. One is that I think one of the ways this could be really useful, if there's a team, let's say some people from SCO that could do crisis intervention. Sometimes when kids are potentially 5150-able, it could be a long show. I mean, so you're taking our mental health clinicians and you're having them sit with them for maybe 3 hours at times, trying to figure out what. So if we had somebody that could come in who was skilled at that could be with them, that would actually save a lot of time and energy. Not the least of which also being our school resource officers, who are much better off, I think, on the campus and doing things around it as opposed to sitting with kids. And they're good at what they do, but it's not really their expertise. So get somebody who has a real expertise in doing that and also freeing them up. The other thing I was thinking about was, and again, you might have designs on them and whatever, but we're going to have a lot of portables available now because of Markham. So what we decide to do with them, if maybe there are a couple eventually available, we could put them in a place and they could become a wellness center because they're the size of classrooms pretty much. So that's just another option.
First we have to put them in a place to put kids in them. But yeah, if we have more after that, yeah, definitely. And we do have actually, because I think it was Vaca Pena she was looking at doing a room because she had space, but Jepson didn't. So there are principals interested. It's just literally finding the space.
The team has gotten pretty good at coming out and looking at spaces. We've had sites walk us around and show us 3 or 4 different spaces and say, which one do you think? And we've been able to say, hey, you might not be able to have a full room. This looks like a nook. And really working with folks. We're actually going to have them in the juvenile hall as well. We're going to have nooks in each of the pods, thank you. And then an actual room in one of their pods. So we're open to supporting, and Michael, thank you for highlighting around the school resource officers. While we provide 8 hours of crisis intervention team training for law enforcement, for all of our police departments and sheriff, it's just a different skill set to come in and work with somebody who's having a mental health crisis, and a different approach. Not that our school resource officers and law enforcement aren't wonderful people, but sometimes that can escalate a young person. So when we're trying to de-escalate them, we can be having the opposite effect. So anything we can do to kind of get the people in the room that have the skill set, the better.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Silva, you had a question?
Yeah, a quick question and then a comment. Is there, I don't know if you guys would know, is there a required, it's more of a facilities question, but is there dimension or required certain type of dimensions for that a wellness center space? And whether there is or there isn't, really just a suggestion that maybe possibly our building trades classes can actually construct something of a, like of a small home, like the true tiny homes. And I think that would be, I don't know, I think that would be a pretty cool opportunity for them to leave a mark and kind of develop that with respect to the construction, our CTE programs. So just a suggestion to consider. Thank you.
It's a great idea.
Mrs. Malberg.
The conversation about throwing chairs in a classroom brings me back to when we worked together. A couple things, and really I think, Jane, do you feel like you really have a grasp on what the impact and what the commitment to us is? Because I don't feel from the information, I'm not really comfortable that I do.
As far as the grant?
Yes.
I think tonight it's a letter intent.
Okay.
Letter of intent, which is saying, yes, we're on board, we'll do it. And then the applications due, I think, in 2 weeks, which we'll be able to look at. I don't know if the application piece has to come back to the board, but we're not really committing, we're just showing our intent. Is that correct?
That's right.
So I think you did a great job summarizing that they had those two options. I think a training option is a great point, but I have concerns around the substitute. But I have to say one thing to your defense, because the way the state rolled out this grant, the timeline was unbelievable, because I saw the first email and it was right before winter break, and it was very long, and I read it because I got really excited, and then it said, if you want to participate in this grant, you have to get a partnership with a mental health, county mental health, and let us know by January 9th.
Yes.
That was the first week back, and I just thought, okay, that's ridiculous, that everything goes silent those 2 weeks. So I was excited when Lizette came back. So everything, because of the State Department being so last minute on this. They are under the gun with last minute. So even this date today was pushed. So it is my understanding that the application is due in 2 weeks. Is that right?
On the 28th.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
The timeline is absurd. That's the best way I can say it. Even for communities where we have partnerships, it's a tall ask. Especially they wove in. It was more. We did a letter of intent where all the districts said yes, but this is now they wove in this formal letter of intent. The requirements and all the little components they put in here it's quite challenging. So our team has taken on the brunt of trying to really figure out how to make this work and allow every district that is interested to benefit from it in some form or fashion. And so for the services, you could opt into trainings in which you can. One of the other ones was TA for when young people are hospitalized and return to school. You've been in a hospital for 2 weeks and you come back and somebody says, here's all the work you missed, right? There's a way to have young people re-enter back into the school setting. So some TA around that, some TA around postvention in the event that you have a tragedy. So those are things that the district can benefit from. And then if you're not interested in the kind of mobile crisis or crisis intervention, then maybe the dropout prevention services. So if there are young people who are at risk of dropping out who are Medi-Cal eligible, somebody from their team could actually do the assessment and evaluation and route and link them to county mental health for services.
So, because I know you have those two like kind of separate packages, we kind of to what Cherie said is getting a better picture of it. The substitute piece, that's a huge concern. We might have to say we can't do that, or we can't send all our people. We can only send maybe some clinicians or administrators. But can we have this other piece? Is there a way from those two packages to kind of...
We will creatively make it work.
Okay.
And the trainings can really be for your mental health staff.
Right,
And a site administrator. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
all your teachers. You know, actually, one of the things that came out in the stakeholder meeting with the district representation, and actually in a subsequent meeting with one of the districts that asked more questions, was your bus drivers and your cafeteria folks. So you don't have to get a substitute for them necessarily, but they could go to a 3-hour Safe Talk training. And so we've heard stories of a cafeteria lady seen cutting on a young person's hand as they reach out. That's a person that could say, hey, what's going on with you? So it doesn't have to be all your teachers. That's not what we're asking.
and there's still a cost, because if they go, they pay. That,
Yeah.
to me, it could be cost prohibitive for us. So if
Is
we
it a
send-
lesser cost if it's not a substitute for a teacher? If it's what do you?
Probably
Classified?
between classified, yeah. And I'm not saying we can't, we just have to look at it. It just makes me nervous when you're seeing a grant and then you find out, okay, there's gonna be a cost. So, the other part is, if there are parts that didn't work, then we could kind of work with you for the pieces that work
We'll
for
negotiate.
us.
We're totally flexible, and I would say,
And it's a 4-year grant, right?
It's 4 years, so $1 million a year. So
So
$1
what
million's not a
happens
lot,
if something,
actually.
and I'm not trying to be negative, I'm always thinking of, plan B, worst case scenario. So if something didn't work after a year or two and a district pulled out, would that change? Would that change the amount, like for the rest of the districts, or?
I
do you
don't
know?
believe so. I
Okay.
haven't seen any language
Okay.
in the RFP that says that. I think we would
Okay.
try and anchor and at least have districts participating in the learning collaborative. The other thing I would say about the trainings is just a little plug. I'm sure you're all aware. You know that you had the requirement from the state to have a suicide prevention plan
Mhm.
for every district. They're now expanding that where you now have to have it for elementary school. So this is an opportunity to use the funding coming from the state and from county mental health to get some of your folks trained to ready yourselves for that requirement that you're going to have. So it's like a great opportunity to leverage a different funding source to pay. You'll still have to pay some, but maybe not all of it, because we'll pay for the curriculums. The trainer curriculums for these are quite expensive. And so this would be all free to you in terms of the actual training. I know there's a cost on the other side, but something to think about long term.
Okay.
Other questions?
Mr. Wyndham.
So first off, I just want to say thank you for your presentation and for all the work you're doing, because, I mean, this, unfortunately, mental health services, especially for our youth, it's super critical. I mean, we see that more and more. Having said that, and it sounds like Superintendent Shamia and Mrs. Wahlberg kind of already brought that up, but one of the concerns, I mean, like when you talk about wellness centers, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the kind of the unintended consequences of that can be that we can actually get kind of a negative issue of the state preventing us from eligibility because the state sees as a potentially open classroom, right? So when we're trying to get money for new facilities. So, I mean, there are some things I would just want to make sure that we're not doing something that's actually going to be detrimental in the back end. I mean, there's obviously a lot of ways I think we could benefit from this, but it's just really important to go slow enough and think about the long term. And I know Superintendent Shamia is doing that, but that's some of the challenges from the back end, that, the funding issues and potential lack of funding issues that we can encounter with that. So it's just
Just to correct, the wellness center is a whole different other topic.
Yeah.
Right,
I
so
realize
that doesn't have to go with what's presented.
My point,
for us
though, was
in it.
just that some of these things, I mean, we just want to make sure, as to Mrs. Wahlberg's point, that we understand the cost of on the back end, because sometimes I think it's a really great thing it's something we need, right? It's something that our students need, that we just have to make sure that we're doing it in the right way so it doesn't negatively affect other parts of the district.
I think the CDE actually recently, what is the title of like their version of a superintendent? I'm sorry, I should know this. Is it superintendent?
Oh, the superintendent of public instruction?
It didn't,
Mr.
wasn't there
Thurman?
just a big presentation on wellness centers? I think there's a push from the state level to start thinking about wellness centers and wellness rooms. So hopefully as they're doing that, recognizing mental health needs for students, they're looking at not penalizing you for having a space being used for wellness for students. I would hope that they're walking parallel there on that issue.
Yeah, they'd
But
have to talk to
hear
the
you on what you're
facility
saying.
guys. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole facility rules there, but that
Right.
would be great.
Yeah. Other questions?
Yes. Mrs. Mulberg.
I'll stop after this. I promise. That's it.
I'm done.
I just want I want to clarify: is this for Medi-Cal, just students only that qualify for Medi-Cal, or it's all students? But you can bill for the Medi-Cal students.
Right,
Is
so
that correct?
all students might be handling the things a little differently. So the crisis interventions, all students, doesn't matter what their insurance is. A SCO staff would come out and provide support. For the dropout prevention, for those students that are identified that are in need of an assessment, it would probably start with a screening. The screening I was mentioning that SCO is already doing, and then determining what their insurance is, and if they're Medi-Cal eligible, they would do the intake assessment and treatment plan and route them to another provider that's under the county mental health plan. They won't be providing the ongoing treatment. There's not enough money for that. But if it's a privately insured young person, they would still do that screening, and then their staff would work on linking them and working with the parent to make sure they got into Kaiser to get some treatment or whatever their insurance carrier is.
Good luck to you on that. But
That's
okay.
a whole nother, I get to go to other meetings to talk all about that. We're trying to get them to do early psychosis here in Solano County.
Mr. Kitsis.
So just to be clear, there's really no requirement on the district to take anything that we don't need or that will end up costing us some amount of money or eligibility or something like that. So really, it sounds like what you're saying is if everything goes well and there's only a certain amount of money, obviously, that districts are going to get, but there's really not a downside as far as getting in too far or something that we can basically take what we need.
Yeah, you will decide what components you want to benefit from, and just to be clear and transparent, the money won't come to the district.
Right.
The money will go to SCO to have personnel and staff to do these activities that your district then is a beneficiary of.
So the last thing I want to say is, we put a tremendous amount of money to really shore up our mental health system in our district. We have 10, whenever I tell people that we have 10 clinicians, they their jaws drop. So we've made a super, and it's been great. And we've made a big investment, and I think where obviously we need to talk about substitutes and that kind of thing, training for not only the mental health clinicians, but school staff is hugely important because there's always a huge chasm between the clinicians and the staff. And the more we can do that, I just think it will really build on itself and have a lot of benefit. So I think this whole thing is really a good thing.
And there's a tiered approach to the training. We would never suggest that you have all your teachers go to the 16-hour assist training. That's too much. But the 3-hour safe talk training, that might be doable. The mental health first aid, it's an 8-hour training, but we can break it up into 2 4-hour chunks a week apart. So there's flexibility, and I thank you for saying that, Michael, because it's an opportunity. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Quick. I know you've been up there a while. You've been up there a while longer.
Yeah.
It's not anyways, applying for a grant takes a lot of time, so I just want to thank you all for taking the initiative to do that. It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of effort, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else in your presentation, or are you ready for a vote?
I would love a vote. Are y'all ready for a vote?
Ready for a vote.
Yay.
All right, so moved by Mrs. Malberg, second by Mr. Silva, to approve the district's intent to apply for the Mental Health Student Services Act grant through the Solano County Office of Education. Student Board Member Advisory vote. Most definitely. All right, and Board Member vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much
Thank
for that.
you.
Thank you for your hard
staying.
work and your compressed time frame that you have to deal with it. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, if we get it, we all get to celebrate.
Yes.
It'll be a big victory for our community.
Thank you for
Very
staying
good.
and for
Yeah,
putting
thank
up
you.
with me and all my questions. I appreciate it.
And look
Thank
for
you.
another email about an opportunity for young people to be involved in a youth innovation idea lab.
Okay,
Where
thank
we're
you.
looking for about 10 kids from the districts to be able to say what their needs are. So you'll see an email in the
Thank
next
you.
day or two.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you again. Next item is, turn the page, 19D. And it's requested that the board approve the appointment of the Vacaville Unified School District employees to serve on the School Attendance Review Board panel as presented. All the members are listed here on the previous page. I have a motion. Motion and second. So motion by Mr. Wyndham, second by Mr. Silva. And it's just a board member vote on this one? Okay, just board member. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Number 20, consent calendar. Routine items on the consent calendar are enacted by the board in one motion. Discussion only occurs if the members of the board, administration, or public request specific items. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Malberg, second by Mrs. Dally. No student board advisory. Board member votes. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you very much and good night.